All right, welcome to Math Replay. I'm your teacher, Mr. Chavez. This is episode 10, and today we're going to replay subtracting decimals. All right, now we have a question here. How can you subtract decimals? And that's a good question, and I'm going to help you answer that question by using these 3 steps here. But before we go there, let's read the story problem. It says, Heather caught a trout weighing 3.5 pounds and a bass weighing 1.32 pounds. How much more does the trout weigh than the bass? Okay, let's see. Now, before we really start to solve the problem using subtraction, we want to kind of get an overview. We want to see if we're in the ballpark of getting the right answer by doing estimation, some rounding. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to take 3.5 minus 1.32, and we'll round. So in this case, we'll take 3.5 and round it to 3. And 1.32, we'll round to 1. And as you know, we get 2. Now, since we know that 0.5 of the 3.5 is greater than 0.32 of the 1.32, the difference should be more than 2. Do you understand? Because 2 plus whatever we get when we subtract these two numbers, it'll definitely be more than 2. All right, now we have a step here I want you to take a look at. It says write the numbers lining up the decimal points. Do you understand? Okay, so if we're taking 3.5 and we're going to minus 1.32 from that, it's going to look like this. Now in this case, you notice a 0 here in red. Well, this 0 here shows the place value of that missing number when we originally wrote 3.5. Do you understand? Okay. Now take a look over here. Sometimes when you want to work out a problem, you can write it in a picture form. So you see 1 whole box, 2, 3 whole boxes. That represents the 3 and 3.5. Do you understand? Okay. Now over here, you see 5 small rectangles. In other words, we took 1 whole box and we broke it up into 5 equal parts. Because since the original problem said the trout weighed 3.5 pounds, which is essentially 3.5 pounds, we were going to need another whole box right here so we can then, break it up into half. And I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. All right, now in step 2, it says subtract the hundreds and decide if you need to regroup. In other words, when we write the problem, as you can see right here, 3.50, and then we want to subtract 1.32 from that, you might notice over here in the hundreds place, we can't take 2 from 0. So therefore, we want to regroup the the tenths place here, as in the 5. It's like when we borrow. You understand when we borrow? So we can't take 2 from 0, so we'll borrow 1 from the 5 here. That's in the tenths place. So if we borrow 1, it becomes 4. And that 1 we will now give to the hundreds place. Now you see a 10 above here. I want to explain something to you in reference to the pictures. Okay, so let's come back over here. Now as we come over here, we see 1, 2, 3 whole boxes, right? Now you remember those 5 boxes, those 5 rectangles I had mentioned earlier? Here they are. Now it was originally 1 whole box that we broke up into 5 equal parts. Now look at this right here. It's quite interesting, right? Do you see what was done here? This 4th rectangle that was broken up into 5 equal parts, we take that single rectangle and we break that up into 10 equal parts. You understand? You see how the 10 is over here? Yes. All right, I think you're starting to get it. A little bit later on, as we go down to step 3, I'm going to explain even more. So let's go there right now. All right, in step 3, it says subtract the tenths and the ones. Decide if you need to regroup. Place the decimal point in the answer. Well, if we come over here, all right, this is when we really get down to business. Now let's get started here. So we have 3.50 minus 1.32. Now in this case, we want to take 2 from 0, but it's impossible. So we have to borrow. In other words, we regroup. So we regroup 5, 0 into 4 and 10 hundredths. So we borrow 1 from the 5. It becomes a 4. And the 1 we borrow, we place over here. And so now the 0 becomes a 10. Do you understand? Okay. Now we can subtract. So now we will take 2 from 10 and we get 8. And we'll take 3 from 4 and we get 1. And we take 1 from 3 and we get 2. All right, great. Now, I really enjoy this over here. Now in picture form, if we want to use subtraction, this is what it would look like. Okay, again, we have 1 whole box, 2 whole box, 3 whole boxes. Now that original 4th box over here, we broke up into 5 equal parts, you remember? Now that 5th one that was highlighted here, it was kind of like a clear box, a clear rectangle. We take that 5th rectangle and we break it up into 10 equal parts. So as you can see, it's 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10. Now, if we want to use a picture form, so we have our four boxes, and that 4th one we break it up into 5 equal parts, and then the 5th one we break up into 10. Because when we want to subtract 1 whole, now this is going to be the easy part. If we subtract 1 whole from the 3.5, we scratch this out here, as you can see. And then watch this. You see here, that's the one we scratched out. Now we want to scratch out 32. Now guess what? Since one of these rectangles we broke up into 10 equal parts, we can safely assume that each of these can also be broken up into 10 equal parts. So if we take out 1, 2, 3, and there were 10 equal parts in each of them, we just scratched out 30, right? Now how many do we need to scratch out? Right, we need to scratch out 32. So again, we take out 10, 20, 30, and then we come up here and we take out 2 more, 32. Well, how many squares do we have left? Let's see. We have 1 whole square left, 2 whole squares left. We have 1 rectangle here that we know has 10 little squares in it. So that's 10 plus 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So if we were to write that down, it would be 2.18. And this is how we got 2.18 over here. Do you remember? All right, now if we come down here below, we do notice that the difference of 2.18 is more than 2. So it is definitely reasonable from what we did from earlier on. Absolutely, it is reasonable that our answer would have been more than 2. So we were correct in that respect. Now, let's see if we can take this same problem and come over here and see if we can work it out ourselves. Okay? Let's see. Now, if you recall, it was 3.5 pounds, and we're going to minus 1.32 pounds from that. Now, we're going to have to add a place value here, 0, right, to hold the place value, right? So let's go ahead and write that. All right, now we can subtract. All right, this is going to be fun. Let's see. I can't take 2 from 0, so I'll borrow from the 5. It becomes you're right, 4. And this 0 now becomes it's a 10. And then now we can get started. Let's see. 10 minus 2 is 8, right? 5 minus 3 is 1. 3 minus 1 is 2. And we're definitely going to bring down our decimal point. All right, great. Now, if we go back to answering the question, and I'll make this a little bit smaller for us. How much more does the trout weigh than the bass? Well, we have just determined that the trout weighs 2.18 more pounds than the bass. All right. I'm going to make that look. Oh, great. All right. I hope you understand everything I went over. If you didn't, feel free to replay this episode and go through it again. All right? Before we wrap things up, I want you to take a look at something. I'll be right back in a second.
Oh, I feel it. Oh, there it is. Come on, take it again. Come on.
Look at the line.
I'm looking at it.
Taking it. Hold on.
You're biting it.
Okay.
It's biting it. There we go. There's the bite again. Take it. Taking it.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, it's a bite. Oh, it's a big one.
Oh, man.
Get the net, Daddy. Get the net.
Oh, man. I got one, too. Oh, no, I don't.
Woo! Look at that, baby!
Okay, hold on. Put it down. Put it down. Put it back in the water. That's a huge one. That's a nice one. Nice fish, monkey. Yummy. Yummy. Right on. Okay, I got
Take a bow.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, that's our lesson for today. I'm your teacher, Mr. Chavez. I hope to see you next time on Math Replay.